Hi, I'm Dave Crane.
And I'm John Gray, and welcome to Turbocharge Your Brand TV.
Dr. Gray, can I call you John? Would you
Sure,
prefer?
John's fine.
John, it's great to have you on the show. I've read your books and wondered, I understand most of what's going on, but what is it that, even though you know the rules keep changing? Why is that?
Well, the cultural rules change, and we're all evolving, and more women are in the workplace. When women are in the workplace, their stress levels go higher, and they're expecting you, their partner, to help lower their stress. So that's all what's new. But what's old is the programming in the brain. And you don't change physiology or the differences between men and women just because you think men and women should be the same. And that's one of the biggest problems today, is the expectation that our partners understand us. Quite often the number one complaint women have is he just doesn't understand, as if he's supposed to. So that's why we have better communication. We have to learn to communicate with each other. But if we can have a general understanding and a positive way of how men and women are different, communication works a lot better.
Now, in terms of why men and women are different, we are talking Mars and Venus. Until men look into your book and look into the whole system of how our brains work, they think that women are just better looking guys. And that's pretty much how people drive through most of their lives until they question it properly.
Nicely put, nicely put. So here's some of the differences, just so we're not just being abstract here. It's like the emotional part of the brain. It's called the limbic system. It's twice as big in a woman. And for some wives, it's 3 times bigger. And that's a joke, but it's definitely twice as big as a lot. And under moderate stress, women will, we have brain scans now. We see that under moderate stress, women have 8 times more blood flow to the emotional part of the brain. And men would have that strong blood flow to their emotional brain if the problem they're upset about is really big. So if it's a lion, a tiger, and bear, and it's chasing you, then we have strong emotion. So big problems create strong emotion in men. Little problems create strong emotion in women. And so when a woman's having a strong emotional reaction to something, a man thinks she's talking about lions, tigers, and bears, when really she's just talking about little problems that she has strong emotional reactions for. So that's right away. All you have to do is tell a woman that you shouldn't feel that way, and now you're creating a bigger reaction and a bigger reaction. Whereas with us guys, if something's bothering us, hey, don't worry about it, and that's a compliment. You know, yeah, you can handle it. And
absolutely.
Then, so it's the distinction. If we don't understand how women are different and their sensitivities are different, then we end up sabotaging our relationships. That's just one of 100 different examples that I explore in my books, at my relationship seminars, and not just in our personal relationships, but in the workplace as well. One of the things our company does is we go into companies and do an assessment. We interview every single person in the company. Okay, there's a little form they fill out and everything. We interview them, and we find number one complaint women have is they don't feel appreciated. Now, they feel like men don't appreciate them. And you ask the men, do you appreciate women? And 90% of the men say, yes, I love the women here. It's great. You know, they're capable, competent, yet the women don't feel appreciated. The same dynamic is going on at home. When there's distress between the husband and wife, you ask the woman, you know, do you feel appreciated? She goes, no, he doesn't appreciate me at all. And you ask the husband, do you appreciate her? Of course, that's why I married her. So this is called a disconnect. This is a blind spot.
But everybody has this.
Yeah, it's rampant. It's all over the place. And that's just one of the blind spots. So there's so many of them. Women will feel ignored and be upset about it. Whereas, you know, we're guys, if we come home and we're kind of like stressed out, we want to be ignored. Just leave us alone.
That's how we recharge our batteries.
That's how we recharge our batteries, yes. And even a more practical way of understanding that, we recharge, but actually what's happening is we rebuild our testosterone. Men have to make 30 times more testosterone. Otherwise, we're grumpy, irritable, tired, unmotivated, and moody. And if they don't get that support to recharge themselves, that's what you get. And that's another complaint women have over time, is he doesn't notice me, he doesn't see me. and when he pulls away to be ignored, so to speak, I call that cave time, she often misinterprets it. She thinks he doesn't love me, he doesn't care, because she, generally speaking, doesn't require that much cave time or recharge time, whereas women recharge differently. They want to talk about their day, interact with their partner, let's connect and share. And gee, on our first 3 dates you weren't this way, why are you different now? some research shows that men talk more on the third date than ever after. It's kind of like
That explains a lot.
What we do is we explain our lives, who we are. Why do we have to say that again? But for women, talking is a way of stimulating a hormone called oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is a nurturing hormone that's imperative for women to produce. Otherwise, they're stressed out. And men don't need that hormone so much. We really don't run out of that hormone is the key thing there. And if you actually were to give a man injections of oxytocin, his stress level goes up. But if you gave women injections of oxytocin, her stress levels go down. Now you might be thinking, why don't we just give her injections of it all the time? It wouldn't work over time. It's like a drug. You wouldn't do that. You want to help your body to make it. And our relationship skills, whether they be in the workplace or whether they be at home or with our children, understanding these differences goes a long way to improving communication and lowering our stress levels so that people have a better mood, they have more energy, and they sleep better, which improves job performance as well as certainly makes us more happier in our relationships.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
But in today's modern day of personal branding, of Facebook, of Twitter, of all the nuances that go into working in a company where everyone knows what's going on, are men or women better geared for success?
Well, women today are better geared for success because they recognize the importance of relationship. Instinctively, they're much more aware of it. For example, men will tend to forget names quite easily. The most important thing in business relationship is to know somebody's name and to know a little bit about them. It acknowledges that person and they feel like I can trust you better and I want to interact with you. And in today's world, it's so impersonal. There's so many options of this and there's so many choices everywhere. You have to build your brand. You have to build relationships. So everything today is really about creating the relationship that you want to work with somebody. And that's based upon building trust. Now, women live in a world of fear, way more than men do. So they're much more aware of how do you build trust, how do you not build trust, the importance of relationship. I can be in an audience of 1,000 people and I said, how many women in this audience in the last month have been concerned for your safety? And all the hands go up. How many men have been concerned for your safety? Very few. We don't live in a world of fear. Women's brains are always thinking how to avoid danger, how to avoid danger. That's why they're telling you how to eat, how to dress, how to drive your car. They're always like...
And the rest.
They can see, they imagine everything that can go wrong. That's what fear is. And this hormone, oxytocin, helps to relax their brains. We look at another difference in the brain is what's called the anterior parietal lobe. That's over here, the right and the left. The part of the brain that's relationship oriented, that wants to know you, wants you to know me, wants to know about you, wants you to know about me, wants to honor you, respect you, all of that. That's the right side of the brain. And women, that's bigger and it's more active. And men, the left side of the brain is more active. That's the part of success in business which has to do with we have the most efficient product, we have the best product, we're competent, we're capable, we can achieve the goal, we can get it done. But you see, in a big marketplace, there's a lot of people that have the talent and the ability. But what you require today is the relationship where they want to do business with you. And that's all about branding. Branding is giving the message out that allows your audience to trust you, to know who you are. And you have to know who they are first.
So who's better at it then, men or women?
Women instinctively have an advantage.
That's not
Men can learn it. No,
it's not going to go away either, is it?
No, but just like anything, men can develop that, but they have to recognize the necessity of developing it. Women by nature have that tendency. They're always thinking that way. But the amazing thing about men is when men recognize there's a problem and I need to solve it, then I have to do something, then men will get on board and learn that skill. But it is a skill that has to be developed. It's a competence that we have to recognize if we're going to compete in today's world. We have to learn to brand ourselves, to identify, find the words, to express who we are in the shortest amount of time. We have to find our markets. We have all these different ways to find people. And if we're not accessing that, then we fall behind. It's not enough just to have the best product on the planet.
And that's one of the reasons why when so many people talk about dating, if you want to be able to date successfully, you need to read women's magazines to find out where their heads are at and find out the conversations that they're having. Otherwise, you have no idea what level to play on.
Well, when we come to that subject, I have a little additional information on that, which is a lot of the women's magazines are actually misleading. So,
Thank goodness for that, because I didn't understand them anyway.
They're misleading women a lot. I mean, here's like an example of some women's magazines saying, we've got a hot interview with 30 available bachelors at 35 years old, and find out what they want. The last thing you want to hear about is what a guy who's 35 years old, not yet married, you do not want to know what he wants.
No.
Because clearly if he knew what he wanted, he would, if it was actually going to give him the fulfillment he needed, he would have been married a long time ago. Find a single 35-year-old guy, he does not know what it takes to make a relationship work. But find 35 married men, happily married men, find out what they want. You don't see that in the magazines. There's so much unrealism in the magazines today, and women unfortunately are hyped up on what a romantic relationship looks like, so you have to be Superman to satisfy her. She becomes very high maintenance. So yeah, it's good to read the magazine so you can see what women are expecting, which is unrealistic if you hold it from that point of view. But you know, messages like I have and other messages, which are from people who've been, I've been married 28 years. I've counseled over, tens of thousands of people, spoken to millions of people. I understand what realistic romance is, what realistic communication is, not just some fantasy of what I think a man should be or a fantasy of what a woman should be. These fantasies end up causing disappointment, when truly we can find real love, which is much more satisfying than just that first gush of romantic love where you don't really know somebody and you're in some fantasy world.
Spoils the truth.
You have to be able to get to reality and discover that reality is actually more fulfilling, and you can have great relationships without your husband being some kind of guy who mirrors femininity and a woman who is always happy all the time. You know, there's this fantasy that we men have that a woman should be happy all the time. After all, look what I do for her. And understand that women are like waves is one of my message. And when they're up, you don't have to do much. They'll be happy. When that wave crashes, you have to understand what to do at those times. Otherwise, you make it worse. And for women to realize that a man can totally love you one day, and the next day he's busy at work, not thinking about you at all. And not to take that personally, because the way men's brains are designed is that when he's solving problems at work, he's on the left side of his brain, primarily focused on his task, and he's disconnected from the feeling, emotional part of his brain where he's remembering our anniversaries coming up. So he'll tend to forget things. Again, in our tests, when we go into companies and so forth, we give them all, one of the things we do is give them a gender intelligence test. And one of the easiest questions is, who has a better memory, men or women? And of course the answer is women have a better memory. The memory in a woman's brain is twice as big as it is in a man's brain. And under stress, it's 8 times more active again. All this blood flow goes there. So women are going to remember, you got to do this, 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 this. And I have a really busy schedule, and I'm lucky to have women working for me, handling my schedule, because I can't remember all the stuff I do, but they remember it. Whereas men are really good at projects. You know, give him a project to do, have focus on that, and then he can remember everything he needs to focus on that one project. So we tend to be able to arrive at the same goal, but we get there in different ways.
In terms of exactly that point where we're wanting different things, we're in a world where it doesn't matter which culture or society you choose, something like 50% divorce rate almost across the board. Now, when I do work helping people and counseling people too, and I always find that the problem seems to be from the females, he's changed or he won't change. Oh, she wants me to change.
That's
Do you know what I mean?
That's right.
You married him in the first place. The guy you married or the girl you married in the first place was what you wanted. Why do you want to change them? But that's part of the
well, yes, that's the part of the problem from the male perspective. One of the differences between men and women is that women have a gene that says,
change the guy.
Exactly. No matter how good it looks, let's make it better. Let's make it better. Okay? So if he's not getting better, she's unhappy. And the other side of it, which is a very legitimate thing, which is she'll say he's changed. Now, the first thing was, he won't change. Okay, so a lot of women go into marriage thinking once we love each other, he'll change, which is very unfair. And I set the groundwork for women. You cannot expect more after you get married. That's why in the dating process to marriage, that's where you negotiate things, because it's not going to get better. But that should be enough, okay? That should be enough. And, it can get better when I counsel people, better skills and whatever. But that's who he is. Let's not try to change him. But men do change when their marriages quite often, because, and this is a legitimate complaint, but it's also, we need to understand it more powerfully, is at the beginning of a relationship, both men and women are one way, and later on both change. A change is inevitable, the particular change I'm talking about, which is there's two brain chemicals involved in romance. One is dopamine and one is serotonin. Dopamine is when there's challenge and newness. So when the relationship starts out, there's challenge to succeed and newness. You know, there's no failure that you've experienced, and so it's all this challenge that stimulates dopamine, which is the same brain chemical that sugar produces or cocaine produces, and they find the same part of the brain lights up as when you're in love. So that's dopamine. Once familiarity sets in, routine sets in, you don't make as much dopamine.
Right.
But what makes dopamine is, for man, is work. You know, challenge, newness, doing new things. And so his attention will shift from her to work. Now for her, women have more of a challenge with serotonin. Now serotonin, in the beginning, serotonin tells you everything's good and I have what I need. But once you start having history in a relationship, disappointment sets in, disappointment sets in. You know, the first time he's late, you go, oh, I'll just tell him he was late. Next time he won't be late. Let's just take that as one example.
Like that works.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then, so 15 times down the line, she's given up. She doesn't feel hope anymore. He'll never change. I was hoping he would change. And so what happens is her serotonin levels begin to dip and her optimism starts to disappear. And when you stop feeling hope, and your hope can be misplaced. When you stop feeling hope, your heart closes down, you lose that feeling of love. And so we want to open the heart again, and once we have realistic expectations, and we understand why this change has taken place in both the man and the woman. You see, he stops doing the little things he did in the beginning, but she stops being delighted about just him showing up. You know, when the first time you call back, she's so happy. Oh, all he did is call. And we get that message as a guy. Wow, I did very little, and makes her so happy. So women start to become diminished in their ability to just respond in a positive way, and men stop doing little things because they now go back to work, thinking, okay, I won the prize here, now go back to work. So my message is you can bring back those very romantic, passionate feelings with a little few small adjustments. And just putting your attention back onto the relationship, because you recognize if you want lasting romance and love, you have to. But you don't have to do it as intently as you did in the beginning, because it was automatic then. And for women, they have to focus on the little words, the little expression, the little ways of interacting that can demonstrate to a man that he's successful in the relationship. Because she has the power to pull out the best in a man, and a man has the power to pull out the best in a woman. But if I could choose, if a couple was getting ready for a divorce, if I could choose who I wanted to come to me to ask for help, and it was only one, I'd always go with the woman. The woman has the power to bring out the best in any man. I mean, she's like, the man's like the horse and the woman rides the horse. If she knows how to ride and feed that horse and kick that horse, and that's going to be the key. You know, women have the power when it comes to relationship. As I mentioned, there are thousands and millions of years, whatever, women's brains have developed this whole relationship sensitivity that men are kind of like a bull in a china shop. We really don't know what we're doing when it comes to relationships, but we can learn, and that's what I do, is teach men as well. But certainly, in many cases where the woman was very resistant to staying married, I worked on the man who was very open to saving the marriage and was able to do it. But he was able to do it with my help. But it's a more daunting task to open a woman's heart. But what I say to women is, if you've closed down your heart to one man, very quickly your heart's going to close down to another. And that women have to learn how to keep their hearts open. We tend to, one of the biggest mistakes in relationship, we tend to blame our partners or make them responsible for how we feel. And women will go to great depths of telling me, but I should not love him because of this and this and this, and I should not trust him because of this and this and this. And I say, you have problems too. And because I know women can bring out the best in men. And let me teach you how to bring out the best in him. Let me show you how you didn't bring out the best. Let me show you how you're closing your heart now when you need to open your heart. There's always hope if one of the partners wants to make it work.
It's fascinating what the point you made there, well, many of the points that you made, all about the attentiveness and the interest and the little points you need to score on a daily basis to keep a relationship alive. But if you're dating for the first time, or you're wanting to date somebody, there's a danger of going into the friend zone, so she likes you so much as a person, she doesn't feel romantically inclined towards you because you've done all the stuff that you mentioned is important to keep a relationship alive. Can you do it too early in a relationship?
Oh, okay, here's the distinction there where you go into friend zone. Okay, the difference in friend zone is when guys become too feminine with women. That means when you actually begin sharing about your disappointments and your frustrations, and you share secrets together, and you look to her for support, that puts you in friend zone. And if you marry her, that puts you in baby zone, and she's your mother. I mean, a lot of women, you know, when couples stop having sex, when I talk to the woman, she says, I feel like I'm his mother. How can I have sex with him? And see, the difference is if my wife and I go on a romantic getaway, and this actually happened, and there's a bear outside that's supposed to attack us, and I go out to protect us from the bear, and I say to her, sit by the phone, and to call the police if something happens. And I go out and do it and find out it's just a raccoon. I come back in, don't worry, honey, it was just a raccoon. Give her a hug. We're going to have the best sex we've ever had.
Yeah.
Now imagine if we hear the bear outside, my wife says to me, honey, you sit down and sit by the phone. I'm going to go out and check to see if there's a bear.
That's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good.
And we all know that's not good.
You might prefer it. It's smart thinking, but it's not good for the relationship.
It's really not good for the relationship. And this is, you know, it's not good for him either. I mean, men need to feel that they have to take responsibility for their family, that they're the captain of the ship, and they have to respect the ship, everybody on the ship. But they really have to feel it's up to him. If a man doesn't feel that have-to energy, that I have to do it, he doesn't make testosterone. And women don't need to make testosterone. What women need to feel is partnership and sharing and mutual respect, and we're doing this together. So that's the female hormone, oxytocin. Men don't need that hormone. We got plenty of it. Okay, it's not like we run hungry and go, gee, I need more cooperation, more help. What is it? He needs more of that sense of I have to do something, I have a role, I have a job, I feel successful at it, I'm making a difference in the world, I'm making a difference at home. And women have the power to give man the message, he makes a difference in her life. And if a woman gives him that message, that man's a happy man. And this goes all the way, you know, I mean, these are subjects I don't talk about in my business seminars, but in my personal seminars, I talk all about the importance of sex. You know, sex is so significant. Rarely do couples get a divorce. Rarely they get a divorce if they have a sex life. I mean, literally, you don't know how many couples have stopped having sex, or if they are having sex, the woman is not climaxing. What keeps a man feeling alpha male is that he has a woman in his life where he provides climax for her. It literally regenerates his whole body. And they found that men that have sex 2-3 times a week with their wives will live 10 years longer than other males, and dramatically less heart disease, dramatically less cancer. And this is what keeps us together. There's two things that keep people together today. One, if you have children and you have a strong cultural commitment to your family, that will keep you together, but it doesn't necessarily ensure happiness, because you know, you can just stay together for the kids rather than make your relationship better for the kids. That's the key to it. But that's a big motivating factor. In these younger relationships where people are moving in together right away before they have children, and usually they last, the average length of time, at least in the USA where I have the figures, average length of time living together or being married today is 5 years. It takes about 3 years for those automatic hormones to go away, those automatic brain chemicals to go away, 2 years to struggle breaking up, and they move on to the next relationship. Because people today want, at least in their personal lives, they want to feel a strong passion, a romantic passion. And why that is because as women are in the workplace, it didn't used to be this way, where they're doing jobs that require urgency, emergency, sacrifice for money, in personal relationships, you know, working for people you don't even know, as opposed to family and children and so forth, which produces oxytocin. These traditional male jobs produce testosterone, which is good for men, not bad for women, but not good for women. That's the difference. It inhibits women's ability to make the oxytocin, which allows women's stress levels to go down. So we see in the most advanced countries in the world for equality between men and women, the Scandinavian countries, they have the highest stress levels for women.
Yeah, sure.
And this is what people aren't even aware of. But here you've got all these women and men working side by side in government everywhere. But the way they got there was by having gender blindness. There's no difference between men and women. And women at home are so dissatisfied with their husbands when their husbands don't behave the way a woman would behave. And the man looks at her like, you know, these poor guys, they're so shut down. You know, they'll come up to me when I'm in Scandinavia and say, I heard your TV show is fantastic. I said, why are we whispering? I don't want my wife to know. Because they'll get, what are you doing, you know, sexism and so forth. But we just look at the test. You know, the bottom line is measure the stress level in a woman in Scandinavian countries, and they did the study. Twice as high as a man's at work. 4 times as high as a man's at home.
Really?
Yeah, this is major. This is major. It used to be
So
women.
that's heart attack territory, really, isn't it?
Is what?
Heart attack territory for women.
Absolutely. And now women have more heart attacks than men. And it used to be that women had 7 years length longer than men. Now that's cut in half just in the last 10 years. And it's going to be, in 10 years, women will be not living as long as men. And the only reason that women typically have showed 7 years higher than living life longer was because men do dangerous jobs. And so you die at your dangerous jobs. And now more women are doing dangerous jobs. But the big reality is all the tests show that women's happiness used to be happier than men. As we moved into this men and women working together thing, women's happiness levels have dropped, and their stress levels have gone up, and their heart attack has gone up, and their cancer levels have gone up. And this is just the future for women unless they understand how to effectively balance the stress of their work life with a personal life where they're with a man and they're able to bring out the best in a man and teach a man what she needs in a language where he can hear it, as opposed to, you shouldn't do that, as opposed to, hey honey, let's do something fun this weekend. Will you take me here? And then he grumbles a bit and goes, oh, I don't want to do that. And you just pause and go, yeah, that's not really your thing, but it would be so nice if you brought me. See, this is the art of bringing out the best. Men want to make women happy, but you got to approach this in the right way.
We're talking about the difference between men and women, what you can learn to save your marriage, do better at work, to live longer. But what about bringing up kids? What can you do at very early stages with your children? I've got a 2-year-old beautiful daughter, and I want to make sure that she's got the best fighting chance for success in her life. What can I do as a dad, and also a mother, to get her prepared for the way that life is going to be?
Well, this sounds like a dodge to your question. I'll get to what you're looking for there, but I want to tell every parent the greatest gift you can give to your children is not to fight in front of them, and to find and dedicate yourself to a relationship that works for making both father and mother happy. The ultimate, a little girl needs to see mommy being made happy by a man. That's her whole future relationship with men is directly related to, can I trust men? And if my dad is there for my mom, not there for her necessarily, more than mom. So you've got to make mom first. So when I come home, you know, the dog runs up to me, my children run up to me, my daughter's running up to me, and I have them all trained. As soon as they run up to me, hi daddy, mommy's here, mommy's there, mommy's not here, because the first question I ask is, where's mommy? Yeah, and it's because it's like the respect. The children need to respect mom as number one, because she's going to be a mom one day and needs to know that she's a number one. She's a woman, as opposed to, and it's so easy to always give your little children everything. You've got to make sure mom's getting more. That's a secret. Then that builds the child's self-esteem. A little girl identifies with her mom, sees her mom being respected and honored and so forth. So, you know, before we had kids, my wife would say, dinner's ready, because she does most of the cooking. And I'd say, I'll be in a little while, you know, and that, I didn't think much of it. But when I have children, if mom says dinner's ready, you want the children to go dinner, right? Mm-hmm. Listen to mom. Well, then I have to be an example of that.
Sure.
Because if they see me not hearing mom, then they go, oh, dad's more important than mom. And they need to have that message again and again. One other thing with little girls, I mean, I've written a whole book on this called Children Are From Heaven. But the most important thing is to realize sensitivities in females versus males. Okay, the more attention you give to a little girl, the more you ask questions and validate feelings, the healthier she will be. And one of the ways we unknowingly invalidate feelings is, like I go back to one of my daughters at preschool and saying, Daddy, the boys were making fun of me in my dress. They were looking up my dress or something like that. Now father would say, oh, don't worry about those boys. They'll be running after you in the future. What I would do by that comment is minimize her feelings, and that would be a mistake. What I want to do is, oh, that must have been embarrassing to have those boys doing that. Must have made you feel uncomfortable. And then they say, yes, and I don't even want to wear a dress ever again. Now father would then at that point want to solve the problem. No, you should wear a dress. You know, you don't try to fix it right in that moment, but you let them express for a while until they're feeling good. And then if they want to know solutions, you can give solutions. So it's validation of feeling. Just taking a little extra time to understand the sensitivities that they have and not to dismiss them as unimportant. Another example of this is a daughter I had in 7th, 8th grade learning geometry. And, you know, I help them with their homework. at a certain point, I'm having to read the chapter to figure it out. You know, they're looking to me like I'm supposed to know. And you know, I knew all this stuff, but I don't know now. So one of my brothers, who's a math PhD, you know, was visiting the house, and this is my daughter Lauren, and she's saying, "Daddy, this is a really hard problem." I said, "Oh, well, let's ask Uncle Robert." And Uncle Robert walks over and goes, "Oh, that's easy." As soon as he said that's easy, she felt invalidated and didn't like him anymore.
Okay.
Because he's saying it's easy when she's going, "What's so hard for me? What am I, stupid or something?" See, females are sensitive. They have a, as I mentioned before in the beginning of the interview, the emotional part of the brain is twice as big, and there's a sensitivity that they have, which is very different from males. So they take time to listen more is the secret with our girls.
So treat the little girl, the baby, like a mini-me of her mom.
That's
and
right.
Whatever you're doing for her, do for her as well.
That's right.
Brilliant.
Mini-me.
And in order to make that happen, we'll end up being happy as a byproduct.
That's right.
Perfect.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's been a complete pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, a real pleasure to you. And I want to let people know that they can check out me every day at marsvenus.com. I also have an ongoing video that I play. I do it every day, and enjoy sharing the insights of relationships, both in the workplace and at home.
Excellent. The website again is?
marsvenus.com.
marsvenus.com. Make sure you check that out. And more great interviews and more great stuff when you keep watching this show. Turbocharge your brand TV.